so this is about, as Patrick said, the wardrobe, which I was building for the Journeyman exam. And it will just be like a quick run over the progress, how I have made it, just like a casual thing appearing in the workshop. And oh, I somehow can't. Oh no, this is wrong direction. Now I got it. So this is the thing we are talking about this evening. It has got a big wooden board on top, and this rack here where you can hang all your clothing at, and a small keyboard where you can put 2 keys in. And yeah, there is inside installed some electric lights. One is just above the rack for the clothes, and one is going all the way around on the back side of this wooden board where the keys are hanging on. Just for you to have that in mind. I hope that will not get too complicated with the wiring and all that. But we will see. Perhaps it will cause some questions, but I'm sure we can solve them. So I made that thing for becoming a blacksmith in Germany. Actually, it's called metal designer or metal worker focused on design. The whole thing takes for about 3.5 years, and is in a dual education system. So I got 2 months of school in a year, and the rest I'm working at the company where I'm working at. And the exams which you make at the end of that 3.5 years is divided. You got 1 times the thing, the wardrobe which I built. You were completely free to do whatever you wanted to, had 40 hours of time, and you needed to documentate it. And another part is then exams on the school, on theoretically and practically, and all that together you get the grade and what you need. So this is just one part of all the exams, but I think it's what was the best part of it. So I started with making some drawings after I knew it was a wardrobe, just to check out what kind of dynamics I like and what I don't like. It was I was quite sure that there was a wooden board on top, so that was very solid, but just the things happening below, I was not so sure about that. So I found out that I liked the ones which are more one-sided and not so symmetrical, more like the last one here. So I made further progress with that drawing. So this is basically what came out. And I did almost the same thing for the side view from that. So I just made a few drawings to figure out what kind of things do I like. Do I like it a little bit curvy and bendy and crazy, or strict and geometrical? And I figured out I like it if it is a few corners, but also a radius here and there, and wood, just like the top wooden board appearing on that side just as well. And so the final side view I designed was looking like that. So and this is just look on the forged part of the side elements. Now going into making, I did it like step by step, forging all the single parts. And this big element, which is right here, which is like the one large piece, I took the decision to make it out of single pieces, and I made cuts here, 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 and here, just because of these filled corners with a radius, because they use so much material that it was like to what is it called, stauchen?
Upset.
Upset. Oh yeah, all right. That was yeah, upset. To upset them was like crazy, to control all the material and to make it exact on measurements. So I took the decision to make it in different pieces and wetted them all together. So this is how I made the filled corners. I took ground material 40 by 20 millimeters, all millimeters I'm talking about. And then I forged the sides out, left a small bump in the middle, and bent it over, and then I upset and upset and set, so that the corners became sharp and nice on the outside and equally round on the inside. Then I made some holes on that elements. This is just like, I'm not going to explain fully on how to make a hole, but this is like the type of chisel I really liked to use, quite thin on the end. The material I used was 1.2344, I think, which is quite a common steel for these kind of works. So no sharp corners. I really don't like sharp corners on making holes, especially if they're going to be round. Then you will only work like, yeah, Macken rein, dents in the material. This is, yeah, me splitting the bar up. After that, it's only upsetting and punching like the round thing through it. This is the toe, which is, I hope you can remember it, on the side element, just below at the bottom. So I made I built a Schablone for that, where I have like positions to stop the material, so I know exactly, okay, I tried it out, what length do I need between the upsetted corners, so I can make them. And then after I made the corners upset and both of them, I was able to just bend it around that pipe and knew, all right, I was in the measurements. I was quite good and helped me, yeah, with keeping in time, because these things like building structures and tools that help you, they're out of the time calculation. So they're not counting inside these 40 hours that we were able to work on it. I was quite good that I made that. Yeah, and on the end, I made it, yeah, in German it's called Prägung. I don't know what the English word is. I just made like a positive of what you can see here and just punched it in and drilled a hole. So yeah, no big magic in that one, but this is just like to get some screws through it to hold it on the wall. And yeah, so then I got the single parts all done and welded them together, just like you can see here. A little bit of grinding and very carefully heating it in the fire multiple times and hammering like very lightly to not change the measurements too much. And that worked out very good. There's not a single welding which you can see by now. So that's good and clean. And yeah, so this is a picture again, because now I'm going to talk about the keyboard element, which is this thing right here in the middle. And that was for me basically the crux, because I somehow wanted to get electricity in there to have the light going all the way around here on the back side. And to do that, I was struggling because I didn't want batteries and all that. I wanted it to be very solid made and with cables that go in the wall then, so I can have a light switch and all that. So for that, yeah, this is like a single drawing of the element where you can see it again. For that, I came up with a solution which looked like this. This is like one of the distance pieces. And one of these cones, I think they are called, is for making the rivet, and the one is going on a wall. And the one that is going on the wall, I made hollow, so that on the back side of the flat steel, which is on the wall, the cable can go all the way through, and then inside that thing, and over a small gap, which is here, then in a layer between two 3 millimeter sheet metal things, where it is like not visible, and then underground to the wooden board. And this is like a cut through all that element. The red thing you see right here, that is the wire, and this is the hollow cone. So it goes from that hollow cone. There's the thing that I filed out where the wire can go through, and then in between the layers up this the number 2 here is the wood, and then it goes to the sides where the LED stripe is, so that the light is only like there to shine on the gaps on the side of that. So you look at it from the front, from up here. You don't really see the LED stripes, just the light shining on the gap. That's really what I was looking for. Yep. So I made that things with the guillotine tool. I used that to, yeah, make the both-sided things. Just like that. I also forged the cones with that, just with a one-sided angle thing. I went around that and then forged it all out. A little bit of filing and detail work, but that was like basically that from the forging part. And then I went to the machinist who made the drillings and the machining stuff on that thing. A very nice machine he had. This is like the flat steel that is on the wall. There's a big nut, maybe nut in English, I don't know, thing for the cable to go all the way from the top down where the keyboard element is. And this is like the piece that he machined out of the distant pieces. Here is the cable coming through, and now I only had to make an insertion, fitting in piece for that with the like filed out thing where the cable can go through in that part between the sheets. I made that by like just very quickly grinding it out with the angle grinder by material, I think 20 by 10. And then I took the what is it? Zwinge. Took the Zwinge, you see it, and made it, heated it up with a burner, and that worked very well because then I was able to hammer it in, and it heated up so quickly that the bigger piece of metal below was staying cool, and then I was able to like press it in, grind off the parts that were too much, and yeah, so that was a very good method because only the material I wanted to move got quickly warm and was good to work with. Yeah, that was what it was looking like after. So I'm quite happy with the result. And then I got all the pieces together. As you can, I didn't like show the progress of making the clothing rack because it's quite simple. But one detail to mention is like this rivet head over here is made screwable. I cut a thread into that so that it is all like single parts. The side element is one part which you can like, which is good for transportation. There is an overlapping over here. I got a detailed photo of that later on, and this clothing rack thing screwable as well. So that was made it very handy. Yeah. And then building it all together was quite a thing where I had to carefully think about which is the right way of what to do first. I took the decision to, as the first thing, like you have to see these as single parts right now. It's not built together, just as single parts. I first welded the hollow cones and the keyboard element on the back side for here. And then I made this rivet head and this rivet head here, because there was no way to like do them when it is all together. So these were the first parts I did without this whole thing here being connected to it. And that way I worked around it. And later on, I then made that welding up here so that these two things are connected together. Yeah, I hope you get it. Yeah, this is like what the place where the cables are going through looks like after the welding. So that worked quite good. There's enough space for that. It's just like how I mounted the things before making the rivet heads. So there should be no like welding spots on the pieces you like rivet together. I don't know if that's the name, because yeah, that's not good. Only like forcing it with the swinger together, and then taking care it's the right angles. It's not good to change so much on that later. It's like the one try you got. So being careful and just, yeah. So I made them all like hand hammered, so it's not too, they're not all equal and not super duper round, but I got a detailed shot of one of these later on. So you can see how they look like. This is like the piece which the overlapping on the top, there's like the big hole where the cable gets through and onto the wall. I hope you can imagine where that photo is located on the wardrobe. And yeah, so all together, it looks like this. Yep. Yeah, one thing that I didn't show because of time is like the things where the keys hang on, because that's actually quite simple. As the side view, you have already seen it, I think. All the screws and all that I did out of brass, half round brass screws with like a, yeah, what is it called? A single cut head. So this is the key holders, yeah, arched and with the small brass thing I screwed them through. There's all the way here is a hole going inside of that until here. So there's a thread inside that. So I was able to screw it from the back side so that you don't see that on the other side. This is like, yeah, one of the hand forged rivet heads. Really like it if there are some small hammer blows and all that. Nothing too wild. Still round, nice, but yeah. Yeah, this is the foot as you've seen it is, yeah, with the brass screws. The detail on the piece from the keyboard element.
What was the final surface finish?
Oh, there was just wire brushed and oiled. And on the wood, it was smoked oak.
Okay, from Paul, rapid mashup but beautiful made. These details. Did you use the computer for make the drawings?
Yes, I did both of it. Just for like the first drawings, I really like to make them all by hand. And then to know, all right, the measurements are exact. It all fits together. I draw it all on computer, and then I draw it again in 1-to-1 on art wood thing.
What methods did you use for welding? Question of Mariano.
Just a casual muck with the gas and wire rolling thing. Yeah.
Okay, from Paul, a nice piece of work. I like it.
From Douglas Height, could you go into more detail about your welding and blending in the welds? So we already talked about the welding, but maybe you can talk a bit how you blended in the welds.
That's like, you just have to be very careful on doing that. And I grind them down and try to use like not a crazy high grit on the angle grinder, but something like 80 or something. If it matters, 80, I would say. If it doesn't, then yeah, it's not so important. But you really have to make care that you don't grind away too much material. It just has to be so that the sides of your welding disappear. What is happening in the middle of the welding is not so crazy important, because you forge on that later on, but the sides of it have to disappear, and just like on zero. It's good if you not take off any material too much. And then I take quite a small hammer, something like 800 grams or something. So when I heat it up, I do like very small blows to more or less just like eliminate the grinding structure on the surface. And on vierkant, on material which has 4 sides, like square material, I really like to like break the corners a little bit, and especially that is like really doing a big difference, because when you like really carefully break the corners with hammer blows, then it all looks way more organic. And then you like reheat it perhaps again and again and again, and then after you're happy with the progress, a little bit of wire grinding, and then it's all good. But no big magic, just being careful and not going too hard, because that will only change the measurements, and then it's done.
Okay, there comes some more. Nice piece of work. I like it, with a professional eye for details. Finished compliment from Paul Voss. From Alfonso Albacete. I hope I pronounced this fair enough. No questions, just a compliment. Well done. From Benjamin Kjellman Sharpin. Not a question, but lovely design, well executed. Love the big radius square corners.
Yeah, thank you.
And from Steve Rook, yes, very nice contrast. What is your preferred type of finishing oil?
Yeah, well, on that I'm a little bit experimenting right now. For that, I used linseed oil for the wood and overtrol for the steel parts, which is like a very, I think it's quite a common thing for blacksmith stuff. It's, you can't do big wrong on that, but I'm a little bit like trying out right now with linseed oil mixed with beeswax and all that stuff. So I don't got a preferred type of finishing oil, but for this what was of an overhaul, just for no experiments. I knew it works, and that was quite all right.
From Pat McGuire, did you select lights before the designing?
Well, I knew that I was going that there will be light, so I planned it into the design, but I did not really know the measurements of the LED stripes and all that before, if that's like the idea. That just came up and they were all into the wooden parts, so that was like more or less like in the workflow. So, but I planned on where they are sitting and what they are in lighting and all that.
I was just thinking that in order to be sure that you would be able to fit the design, that you find the light element first to make sure that it would fit.
Yeah, I would have really liked that, but I'm had like, then for that I perhaps had to make a prototype and all that would have been too much, so I just used my imagination power to like try to see where is it lighting and what do I want, and that worked out quite good.
Definitely worked well.
No, thank you.
Mariano Garabato, I think you painted the metal parts that are in contact with the wood. Is that correct? Great idea if it is like this. And then comes another part, so maybe your first answer on that one.
The metal parts that are, well, I oiled them. Yeah. But yeah.
Mariano, maybe you talk directly.
I can see in the photo that the chain, the seam for the keys has like some yellow paint or something like that. I'm not sure.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, but I was a little bit thinking about that, because like oak and steel is always, yeah, it's good to separate it. I was as well thinking about like what I knew from like making wooden hinges and all that, that you can make, what is bly?
Lead.
Lead? Lead. Oh yeah, that you make like very short layer of lead sheet metal between that all. But on this one, I took the decision to just leave it because it's all dry and the wooden parts won't move and all that. So I just made a little bit of oil on that.
Okay, and then the second part of Mariano's question or comment. I can see that some of the tannins look a little sharp on the strat. Do you use the tool for getting the size, or do you think a file for a grinder, or think a file or a grinder is a better option?
What is a tannin?
Cone.
You call them cones.
I called them cones. All right. Yeah. Sharp on the strat. What is the strat?
Mariano, maybe you explain.
What was a mistake in the keyboard, in the start? When you have the 90 degrees in the bar,
yeah,
looks like it's too square, and maybe you have the risk of a crack or something. But I'm not sure if you can see.
Yeah,
I think I
worked a little bit too far in on some points of that. Yep, I went a little bit too far. I think that is what you've meant. Just a few hammer blows too much. But That makes open another long story, but yeah, I think I worked a little bit too hard on that. Yeah, so that's just like, but it worked out good. Yep. So on the future ones, I think it's definitely better to be a little bit more careful on that, and then go with the angle grinder. Normally we cut them all with the angle grinder actually. So it's only if there's like 20 or 30 or 50 or whatever to make when you're like two people, and it's more fun on the fire because it's not like so much of a time difference. Then like, okay, let's go to the fire. And but for small amounts like this, we normally just take the grinder, and then it works good. Yeah.
Yeah, how I do them, I have used the lathe at different times to turn tenons, but I generally prefer to forge them. And how I use what I would call set tools that are cut at an angle, and I always come in at least 3 mil less than I need, and then squeeze it down with a swage or something so you get a radius. If you're tooled up for it, they're very quick to do.
Yeah.
Under a power hammer, very quick.
Yeah, that's definitely a nice way. Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
But you can do them with an. There's so many choices nowadays, isn't there? With the different tools, it's what you practice makes perfect, I think.
Yep, totally. And I think on these, as far as I figured out, there is not so crazy big time difference. I just go for what is more fun to work. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked your process for the square corners, those big radiuses. Before you explained it, I was wondering how you achieve that, and yeah, that produced a really nice, contrast to the square corners. It was a good job.
Yeah, thank you. I was having a little bit of struggles because with these round corners, I had to weld them all together. I would have really liked it to make it out of one piece, but somehow I thought, well, stop the idealistic thing in me. So just go for the design, and I'm very glad I did it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you'd have made it all in one piece, you'd have had to done a few rehearsals, I think, with material to get it all to come out in the right place.
Yeah.
You've been very satisfied, though.
Oh yes, yeah.
But you're up against time commercially all the time, and that how you did it produced a known outcome, and it was a really high quality finish. So I think you can't. There's no right or wrong in some of these things.
Next question from Paul Voss. Do you use the wardrobe yourself, or did you sell it?
It is a gift from my parents, so it's going to my parents now, and that's very good. There I know where it is, and it has a good place for the next few years. And
well done, well done.
Next is from Mariano Garabato, who has probably translated it from Alfonso. That beeswax, he is using beeswax, linseed oil, and a dash of Japan dryer. Though I have no idea what Japan dryer is.
Me neither. Yeah, perhaps I have to Google it later on. Yeah.
Hand dryer is an oil painting additive to make it dry quicker.
Ah, just like a Zikatif. Yeah.
I use it too. It works well. I have used it. It works pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in very small quantities, by the way, because it can crystallize the wax if you add too much of it. It makes it really hard to keep it from cracking once it's dry.
Ah, all right.
So it's just a very small amount, but it works. It helps it. Gosh, it keeps it from melting at low temps. You know, like if you leave it by
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, nice. I have to try that. Yeah.
Do you use a boiled linseed oil, Alfonso?
Correct.
How much does it speed up the drying time? I've never tried it. I use oiled linseed oil and beeswax, but I've never tried an additive. How does it make a big difference?
I think so. Both the linseed oil and the Japan dryer. The dash of Japan dryer is crucial.
Okay.
But literally, there's a formula out there that's probably more exact than what I'm giving you. I just, drop a little drop, but if you search it.
Okay, I'll do that. Thanks.
Okay.
Somebody in here might have the formula exactly. I do it by feel. But I have a piece. Yeah.
I used to have it. I don't have it anymore, but lately I've been using every once in a while when we go out to the field and demonstrate and things like that, I'll use beeswax, linseed oil, and a turpentine blend. 3 parts to 2 parts to 2 parts proportion. And I like that quite a bit.
I tried using that, mixing up, because it makes the beeswax and linseed oil a bit softer, doesn't it, the turpentine?
Correct.
Yeah, it does.
Yes. I think it's a really great finish, actually, for interior work.
We have a couple of more questions. There's a question, a comment from Pat McGuire. Raw linseed oil never completely dries.
That's what the Japan dryer is for.
Yeah, in my group, the mixture of boiled linseed oil, beeswax, and turpentine, they just call it blacksmith's goop. And it's a good interior finish, but I don't know the perfect ratio.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have it written down on my big jug of it down in the shop, but I think it's 3 parts to 2 parts to 2 parts. The 3 being the beeswax.
There's one more question from Mariano. How do you put the rivets with the screws, the ones you can remove?
So perhaps to explain that, this is like the screwable rivet head, and it's just like a rivet going in, and on the other side where the clothing rack comes in, there's where it is going inside the hole. So it's like meeting in the half of the hole. It's both are inside the hole, and
yeah, okay, great idea. Yeah, because I thought the rivet was the screw, but now I understand it's like more pieces.
So there's basically like a screw in the head without a head inside that. And on the one or the other part, it's like going to the end of the thread that it's cut, and then it's just like going fix. Yeah.
And you either thread the piece or put an old thread on the other side. Yeah.
Oh, there's just the same as on the other side, and there's just like a Gewindestift, würde man in Deutsch sagen. Yeah, I don't know how.
Threaded rod.
An old thread, threaded rod,
This is a picture of the key thing as well. So that's
okay. This also solved the other question, because now I know it's a piece of brass.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
It's a piece of brass. I thought that with the screws and all that, it is going to fit quite well in the design, and a nice contrast with the oak as well. And no oak on steel. So yeah.
On that last picture, it looked like the key hook was forged to a hex down to where the bolt came through, or did you use a brass bolt, or did you do a custom piece of brass?
I made a small piece of brass, which for that I first forged the piece to almost like an octagon or whatever it is, and then I took like 3 millimeters or something like that. Maybe, I think 3 millimeters sheet metal of brass, made a hole through that, and then I was able to because on the steel part I already had the thread inside. Then I was able to put a screw through it, and screw them both parts together, and then just like carefully grind the brass part down so that the that it's like good on each other.
So that the flats matched.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so the facets, man, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I took some like 2-component metal glue and glued it together.
Makes
Because-
it very attractive.
There has come another question by Douglas Hyde, and I think it should read something like, "What happens with oak on steel?"
In the oak, there is big parts of acid, Gerbsäure. I don't know if it's tanning acid in English, perhaps not. But when it comes in contact with steel, it reacts, and the oak gets like suddenly quite bluish tone, and like gets a crazy different color. And
It oxidizes, it brings the tannins out.
yeah,
It also causes a galvanic reaction in the metal. In the long term, if it's exposed to a lot of to the weather, it can corrode the metal.
but on this
But-
one I didn't vary so much because it's all dry and all inside. So
Right.
I took the decision to like just
Right.
let it be.
Yeah, I actually have a couple of sculptures here, and I have them on an oak base, and they're inside, and they've been inside for years, and they're perfectly fine.
Oh, nice.
From Paul, thank you, Lucas, for this presentation.